I'm a member of Ralston Creek Cohousing in Arvada, Colorado, and we're here today to talk about why we chose cohousing, myself, Carl, and Nicole. Just take a moment right now, if you would, if you have the opportunity to share this on your Facebook page or to any groups you belong to. We'd really appreciate that. We invite you to listen in as we share our stories. And Ralston Creek Cohousing is looking for a few new members who might like to join us in building a sustainable community, a sustainable solar community in Arvada. And you can learn more about us on our website at www.ralstoncreekcohousing.org. You can also send us an email at ralstoncreekcoho@gmail.com, or you can ask us some questions in the chat, and we will monitor that as we go along, and perhaps we can answer them live today. I'm going to share my story. I'd always planned on moving to Colorado when I retired, since all three of my children and my grandchildren live here. But the question I always imagined people asking themselves, and not out loud to me, was, why are you moving to Colorado where you don't know anyone but your 30-something children? And since my children migrated to Colorado, I used to visit 3-4 times a year, and I would daydream about living in Denver. And I was leaving my 5 sisters, lots of nieces and nephews, a family business, and good friends in Ohio, where I've lived all my life. And what was I going to do with myself in a new environment? Where would I live? Who would be my support group? How do you make friends? These are questions I was asking myself, but I never spent much time really thinking about it. All I was certain of was that I didn't want a single family home with a big yard to take care of where I might be isolated. I lived on 5 acres in Ohio and had to take care of all that, 3-bedroom home, and I'm done with that. So actually, cohousing found me because about 2 years before I retired, my nephew, who's a real estate agent in Boulder, sent me an email with hardly anything in the email, no content other than links to 2 cohousing communities that were getting started in Colorado, in Longmont and in Boulder. And then a light bulb went off in my head, and I immediately started researching cohousing and making plans to visit as many cohousing communities as possible during my next visit to Denver. And there are more than 14, or are 14 cohousing communities in the Front Range alone. So it was easy to find some that may or may not have openings. But basically, I was just looking to see, is this a good fit for me? So cohousing appeared to solve most of my concerns, a ready-made community that consisted of people who were committed to living in consensus. And by that, living in consensus means everybody has to agree. Neighbors that I could call on for a cup of sugar or a ride to the store, friends to talk to and do things with, the knowledge that I would have people around me that would be concerned about my well-being. And so my next step after that was attending the 2017 National Cohousing Conference in Nashville to learn more about cohousing and to confirm that this environment was something that appealed to me, and it did. So that's my story. If you're just dropping in, welcome to our member chat. We are Ralston Creek Cohousing. We invite you to share your comments and questions in the chat box. And next, we will be hearing Carl's story.
Several years ago, we actually went and looked at a unit at a co-housing in Golden, Harmony Village. It was a much larger unit than we needed, but they don't have them come up very often, so we went and took a look at it. We were very attracted by the place and the community there. Everyone had their completely private home, but they also had access to all the shared space. The common house had guest rooms, so if you had visitors, you didn't have to have your own guest room. They had plenty of space for activities. They had a beautiful, wonderful kitchen, dining area for the common meals. And they had a pantry, so if you didn't bring your pressure cooker with you to co-housing, you could go to the pantry and use the community pressure cooker and take it to your kitchen if you didn't want to cook in the community house. So that's sort of the reason why we like co-housing. When we were visiting, we did see a lot of activity. We saw people gardening together. We saw people watching each other's kids. And there was really a sense of community. And I want to be part of that, a community like that where everyone knows each other and everyone helps each other out because it makes it easier for everybody. Why Ralston Creek Cohousing? Because there's a lot of cohousing in Colorado, which is wonderful because we can see a lot of examples. Ralston Creek mainly because it's in the Geos community. The earth as we know it is warming at an alarming rate, and there's a consensus that if we don't do something soon, it might be too late to have a comfortably inhabitable planet. And we're kind of running out of time. Living in Ralston Creek Cohousing is an opportunity for us to do our part as a family to decarbonize our lifestyle at very little cost to us. And as a side benefit, it's actually cheaper that way because you're not paying for all this energy you normally pay for natural gas or electricity. And someone asked, you know, at what point did I make a decision that Ralston Creek Cohousing was the place I wanted to go? Why is that right for me? A few years ago on the Metro Denver Green Homes Tour, where you get to tour all kinds of solar homes and things like that, we went to the Geos community. And they were just completing some of their first units. They weren't co-housing, they were row houses, and there was a single family home. And Norbert was there. He's sort of our brain trust and the designer of all this. And he explained the technology in ways that were very clear and made a lot of sense using technology that we know works and is available, like ground source heat pumps and solar panels to provide the power, and many other methods of building and designing, which you can learn more about if you go to Ralston Creek Cohousing and look at the gatehouse or a unique place. There's some explanation of that technology. But I sort of had an epiphany that, gee, we could do the right thing and live in a beautiful place, in a beautiful community, lighten our footprint, be a little nicer to Earth. And I saw no downside. So that's why Ralston Creek Cohousing is what's right for me. So I think next, Nicole.
Great, thanks, Carl. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole. I'm an explorer with Ralston Creek Cohousing, which simply means I'm getting to know the full members and have this exploratory time to decide if I want to go forward and become one of the founding members. Right now, Ralston Creek Cohousing is almost at their point where they're about to build, which is super cool. And so I kind of have this neat opportunity to be part of this co-housing's beginning and their development. And for me personally, that really resonates. And I guess it would be helpful to know part of my background. I'm an urban planner. So climate change, co-housing, living in an intentional, eco-friendly, sustainable living designed home is my dream. And it's super neat that this is a dream that could possibly come true really, really soon. And I'm just sort of surprised that there are not more communities, solar-based communities in Colorado like this, just because it makes so much sense. And I think it's really the direction eventually we're really gonna all have to go to, especially in states like Colorado. So that being said, finding Ralston Creek Cohousing, which is in the Geos neighborhood. So like not only look up ralstoncreekcohousing.org, that'll also connect you to the Geos neighborhood where this is taking place. And so that just makes so much sense for me personally. We're based in Arvada, which is personally close to my work. I work in Lakewood. We're also right on the Ralston Creek Trail, which is great if you're a big biker, hiker. I just got a puppy. You might hear him in the background. So it's great to have open space so close by. And I guess it's also kind of nice to go into town, and Old Town Arvada is really close by too. And they have really neat shops and restaurants and all of that jazz that, you know, is nice to have as well. In terms of like values and mission, like I'm a minimalist at heart. So living in the most sustainable, ethical way I can is really important to me. I mentioned I work in climate change. I believe that, you know, sharing resources, common spaces, it makes so much sense, you know, and I think more often than we realize, like our national parks, our camping grounds, our local libraries, we're already doing all of that, but it's unfortunate we don't really see it so much in our neighborhoods or our actual personal home dwellings. So it's kind of, I mean, there's a little bit, and I think especially with my generation, I mean, we've already seen it before with baby boomer, but there's been a real McMansion mentality trend, and I just generally you know, this mindset that more is more, bigger is better, and it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. And I think if anything, at times it can be really isolating. And I think we realize it's not necessarily so happy, you know, like it doesn't make us happy. But that's just sort of a personal philosophy, which is really nice about the co-housing vision and mission, and what that looks like. I personally love the idea of raising my future children in a community like this. I love being able to know that I can have an impromptu glass of wine with my neighbor. It's kind of the way neighborhoods and villages used to be, but people intentionally buy in because that's what they want. And it doesn't mean you have to be social all the time, because I'm an introvert at heart, but it's really nice to know that we can have communal meals together. There's a communal garden. I'm not a good gardener, but I know plenty of people already on this founding member team who are. There's also already activity clubs that people are thinking about having, whether it's book clubs, hiking, skiing. I know that there's a bike group, you know, so there's all these things that it's nice to have that. Personally, I'm planning to hold a yoga meditation class because we'll have huge common space to do that. And so we're right now at this infancy, and it's such a beautiful, rare opportunity to sort of build and create this with other like-minded kindred spirits. So if you're watching this and this resonates, please email our group. We've talked about the Ralston Creek Cohousing.org website, but we'll keep going. But yeah, that's sort of my story and where I'm at. And I'm really excited to be here and answer any of your guys' questions. I don't have the chat box in front of me.
Is my audio on? Okay. Arnell asked a question, will Ralston Creek Cohousing look like the village model? No, it won't. Ralston Creek Cohousing is going to be in one building, a 3-story condominium type building with an elevator or elevators and underground parking. So it's a little bit different than co-housing you would see in Colorado, which are like individual homes. But in our building on the first floor will be the common house, which will be approximately 2,000 square feet, and we will have guest rooms or room. We will have a kitchen and a dining area, and stay tuned to be determined the rest of it when we get to the design stage. I wanted to mention some upcoming events we have this Saturday, June 20th. We have a happy hour from 4 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And if you're interested in participating in that, send us an email at ralstoncreekcoho@gmail.com, and we will send you the link to that. Also, we'll send you a link to a movie we're going to watch beforehand called The Best of Both Worlds, Cohousing's Promise. And we will be able to send you a link to that. It's so that we can watch it at your leisure, or you can watch it at your leisure, and then we will get together to discuss it at the happy hour. So that's Saturday, June 20th. And on Thursday, June 25th, we have our monthly online video chat hosted by 2 other members who go through some slides that we have produced and give you all the up-to-date information on Ralston Creek Cohousing. And that's about it. Anybody else? Oh, Nicole, you have a question.
Well, I'm seeing somebody else's question that was asked by Lori about how we'll be deciding the design of the place. And I think that's what's a really unique thing about co-housing and getting to consensus and really hearing everybody's input. And so that's something that we're working on right now, right, Lori? So yeah, that will be, you know, and we're going to create a design committee and
And there's another question here. How many families do you expect in your co-housing? Depending on the size of the units that people want, there will be 20 to 22 families. And Lori asks, how do you decide who gardens? Anybody who wants to. And if you don't want to garden, you don't have to. That's not a mandatory part of it. We just happen to have quite a few already. So, and I thought I was a past gardener, because I used to have a 2-acre garden. I had a CSA. I had 40 families. I was done with that. Well, not so much. I'm looking forward to being able to do it with other people rather than by myself. Did you have a question, Nicole, you wanted to ask? Well, I'll go ahead just for a little bit. I just wanted to tell a little story about why I chose Ralston Creek. After I came to Colorado and looked at 5 or 6 places, co-housing communities, Ralston Creek checked most of the boxes: affordability, location, and timeline. Even though my kids live in Denver, Arvada's close by enough. It's only about 15 minutes away. But the big kicker was when I called Tori, one of the founding members, and asked if I could have a tour of the site and meet at Geos, which is where Ralston Creek is going to be built. Tori and the developer Norbert Klebel met me on a Saturday after the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and were very eager to do that, and I was impressed with that. Not only the technology and the location and what have you, I was just impressed with their ability to be able to meet me there and their eagerness to do it on a holiday weekend. So do we have any other questions? Arnell asks, do you plan to be multi-generational? We aspire to be multi-generational, yes. At this point, we are not, but we still have about...
I'm not worried. No.
We still have 10 openings, at least 12 openings at least. So it's always a possibility. And the thing about co-housing is that, and the thing I like about Ralston Creek, is you can have a smaller living space, a private living space, with all the amenities that anybody would have in their home: kitchen, bathroom, bedrooms, what have you. But you share the common space. So you have a huge kitchen and a huge living room that you can use. And I look forward to using that. And Victoria asked, how close is Ralston Creek to breaking ground? We're pretty close. If all goes well, we could break ground this fall. And then we're talking about a 2-year move-in from right now, so 2022. And Carl, there's a question. Tell us a little bit about Arvada, because I know a little bit, but you know a lot because you live in Arvada.
Yes, and even when I was a child, we used to come visit friends in Arvada. So Arvada is a really well-established town. We have the distinction of being the location of the very first registered gold strike in the state of Colorado, which is, and we have a little park called Gold Strike Park that is right on the Ralston Creek Trail, right as it enters Clear Creek. And John Ralston actually is the man that first discovered that gold. So the creek was named after him. Actually, it was called Ralston's Creek. It's now Ralston Creek. But that's the bike trail that goes all the way to Geos, and then all the way out to the west. And so if you like biking or hiking, that's a wonderful resource. Once you get down to that park, you also connect with the Clear Creek Trail, and you can go all over Denver without crossing very many streets on your bicycle, which is really a wonderful way to bike. I hate interacting with traffic myself. Arvada is just this really kind of nice, used to be a tiny little town, but has had a lot of things grow up around it, but we have some wonderful facilities. And actually there's a section, if I can push you back to Ralston Creek Cohousing.org, we have a whole section on a unique place in the city of Arvada, which has a little more information on that, but we have a great cultural arts center. We have a lot of recreational facilities. Most of them have at least something close to the Geos neighborhood. We're within very easy bicycling distance of grocery stores and shopping centers. So it's really a lovely place. It's also easy biking distance from some of the nicer parks, and a off-leash dog park. If you have a dog and you don't want to keep them on a leash or in a chain or in a gate all the time, we have a very nice facility out there. So for us, it's been a wonderful place to live. You know, the thing that we sort of missed because we moved to this town is, you know, we moved into a house in an old 1960s vintage neighborhood, which is nice, but there isn't that much commonality and that much community within the neighborhood itself. So we know most of our neighbors, but not really well. We don't have dinner with them on a regular basis once a week, which we would be doing in co-housing. So that level of community, and also just downsizing from our house full of clutter to a more livable space is one of our motivations for moving from where we are to another place in Arvada. Also, it's about the best location to get to Front Range ski areas quickly. So if you're not going to live in the mountains and you want to ski, you eliminate a lot of drive time and can get to most of the really world-class areas within an hour and a half to 2 hours of your doorstep.
Another question is, what is around the neighborhood other than Geos? Can you answer that, Carl or Nicole?
I mean, I can answer that just because I've done a lot of exploring there. So you're in a residential neighborhood as well, but then it's really close to get to, there's a natural grocers and there's a number of other supermarkets really close by. So you have all of that really accessible, and then you're close to Old Town Arvada as well. And I think what's also really nice, and Carl was alluding to this before, is that you can ride your bike everywhere too, pretty much on the trail. I mean, it's a little bit of a, you know, it is a bike ride, but it's close by. And so it's really easy to get to places. I don't know if you want to add anything, Carl.
Well, I could probably go on for hours, but it was really boring very fast. It's just a very livable classic community, and in a wonderful location. And we're just north of Golden, we're just south of Boulder, and we're just west of Denver. So all of those places you want to be in Colorado, or the urban places around Denver, we're really convenient to.
And what's exciting is, I think Norbert was saying, so part of the Geos development is there will be a bike shop and brewery, I think literally right there, which is kind of nice because it's right off the trail. So we're trying to create some mixed use, which in the urban planning realm we love, you know. So things that I even said were close might even be closer, depending, you know, as we grow and as it, you know, further develops.
I think that's all the questions that we have. Anybody else? Carl, Nicole, you have anything else to add? No? Okay. Again, thank you for being with us. Our website is www.ralstoncreekcohousing.org, and our email is ralstoncreekcoho@gmail.com. If you have any other questions or something occurs to you later, please get in contact with us. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.